Hello and welcome to 10 Points of Slashing. My name is SJ, and today I'd like to invite you on a little journey as we discuss the concept of video games as more than just a way to pass the time. More than some crazy addiction, more than an escape mechanism, video games are interactive art. And they're what I consider to be the most incredible form of art that humanity has ever endeavored in. And in this short video, I am going to talk about why. And it's something that I think that most people that play video games can relate to or at least understand. The genesis of this video is a wild series of thoughts that I had due to my disappointment after playing Dragon Age: The Veilguard. God damn it, he got us. It's just another video about some loser bitching about Veilguard. Let's go. Come on. Let's get out of here. Wait. Put the pitchforks down and just hear me out on this. I was honestly disappointed by the game, and I found myself thinking, how the hell am I disappointed in this game when I just put over 200 hours into it in less than a month and had an incredibly fun time playing it? How am I disappointed in something that hundreds of people spent years of their lives working on, investing in it, polishing it, bringing their work home with them? If I worked for years of my life on something, if I lived and breathed that thing day in and day out, how could it be possible that the final product would piss people off and be seen as a disappointment? And how would I feel as the person that just busted their ass like that, only for people to say, this game sucks? To answer these questions, I think it's important to take a look at the video game industry as a whole and examine some of its history so that we can see why it is the way it is today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming along with me on this one, and I hope you enjoy the video. We're going to be getting into the weeds a little bit here as far as the dark side of the video game industry goes, and while this channel exists to celebrate video games and to not get stuck in the negativity of things too much, we're definitely going to be treading those waters in this one. So let's kick it off with a little trip back in time. In 1996, when my dad came home with a PlayStation and a copy of Crash Bandicoot, my life changed forever. I was absolutely enthralled by this world. This was the first 3D environment I had ever seen in gaming, and it was so insanely immersive to me. It was surreal to be part of this vibrant, colorful world, to insert myself into it. Even as a child that had no concept of things like the actual process of video game development, I recognized then and there that this was incredible. This took so much fucking work, iterated on years of somebody else's work to make a reality. This was art. Art that I could be a part of. Art that I could impact and control. Art that I just had to see more of. But in order to see more of it, I had to build skills. Skills that had no relevance anywhere in the real world, but that were specific to the world of Crash Bandicoot. So, I had to spend time there, in that world. Sometimes it was frustrating, sometimes it was downright infuriating. But with every challenge that this game presented me, I was compelled to overcome it because I wanted to see more. I wanted to experience more of this art. This taught me perseverance. This taught me that in order to get what I want, I have to work for it. And that work is gonna fucking suck sometimes. But in the end, it's worth it to push through the uncomfortable things in order to experience the wonderful things. And with every new game that my dad came home with, that feeling was renewed in a different world. Another incredible artistic expression that taught me something. Somebody else's art and story and world would introduce new challenges to me that I was captivated by. Tomb Raider, Gex, Spyro, Unreal, to name a few. These games were labors of love, and it was extremely evident everywhere you looked in them. You could see it in the worlds themselves. You could feel it in the stories these games told. These games were built by artists, by people that were motivated only by a desire to build a world or tell a story. And these artists were happy just having other people appreciate their art. And I'm not just referring to the literal art that goes into a video game. The programmers, the project managers, the put your head down and work guys, are just as much of an artist in this context as the level designers or the concept artists themselves. All of these people were plying their trades because they wanted to create something, and they were being directed by other creatives who were motivated by the same thing. And the end product was always something that people were absolutely captivated by. But at one point in time, things started to change. Now, this experience may be exclusive to my area of the country, or it may have just been an isolated experience for me in general, but in the early to mid 2000s, I felt a huge shift where suddenly video games weren't just for nerds anymore. Everybody started playing them. Nerds, cool kids, adults, my 60-year-old grandfather. It wasn't lame anymore. Halo, Call of Duty, Gears of War, these were franchises that kids and adults alike started playing religiously. But in order to play these games, you had to buy them. I think that the early to mid 2000s is when publishers, the business management and sales side of this art form, started to really identify and hone in on trends in the market. What things would sell and what things wouldn't. The creatives, the artists, didn't care about those things. They just wanted to make fun games. The businessmen and the salespeople saw an opportunity. A divide was formed between publishers and developers, and video game development started to no longer be about artists creating something for people to appreciate. It was about artists creating something for people to buy. Developers started losing artistic control of their projects. Things started being mandated by publishers. You must incorporate this particular gameplay mechanic because X game had it and it sold really well. You must develop a game in this live service format because Y game did it that way and it sold really well. You must limit the content of the game to leave room for DLC and additional transactions in the future, etc., etc. And the video game industry has become so insanely saturated and bloated that some developers essentially have no control anymore. Some developers are completely and entirely controlled by their publishers and the demands that they are making. But an artist is still an artist. Whether they're given complete creative freedom and control, or a set of rules that they must abide by, an artist's passion is still in his or her ability to create. And video games are a collaborative effort. They're developed by sometimes hundreds of people working together to create something. These are all people that aren't driven by metrics in quarterly reports or sales goals. These are people that are driven by a desire to create. Over time, I think we have seen the overall quality of video games dropping as those quarterly reports and sales goals become more important than creative artistic expression. I legitimately can't name a single PlayStation 1 game I have ever played that I didn't like. Not a single one that I wouldn't enjoy playing again today. Yes, that includes this absolute fucking gem. And sure, you could absolutely make the argument that it was just being a child that made these games magical. But when people older than me say they see the same thing happening, people that were 25 when I was 8 and had the same experience I had with these games, there's gotta be some truth behind this, man. Instead of being told, create something wonderful, developers are being told, create something profitable. That's the difference that we're feeling today. And I honestly believe that these people, these developers, these artists, are doing their goddamn best to find their creative joy within the limits imposed on them by these publishers and the people that the publishers plant within the developers to ensure their demands are being met. I firmly believe that the problem in today's game industry lies not with the developers but with the publishers. Not with the artists, but with the salespeople. So when you play a game and you say, this game fucking sucks, or this game is disappointing, or this is a bad video game, think about who you're pointing that finger at and adjust if you need to. If you haven't heard Sven Vincke's speech at the Game Awards this last year, I highly recommend listening to that and really taking a moment to digest it. He words everything I'm saying in this video in a far more eloquent way than I could ever hope to, and his point is painfully relevant in today's market. The games that truly mean something, the incredible games that win awards and make a lasting impression in your heart for decades, are the ones that are made when publishers say, create something wonderful. If you haven't yet, go ahead and look up who the developer is versus who the publisher is for Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm sure you'll see Sven's point. In fact, I'd wager that you could learn a lot about a video game before even playing it by looking specifically at who the publisher is. And Baldur's Gate 3 is a phenomenal example of a game that feels good. A game that is exactly what I described at the top of this video. Interactive art. An experience that you are enthralled by and a challenge that you feel compelled to overcome just so that you can have more of that experience. This is what a video game should be. This is the experience that I fell in love with in 1996. Graphics and gameplay have obviously come a long way, and I've lived an entire life since then, but the feeling is exactly the same, man. This is art. And so is this, or this, or this, and even this. A game that I was massively disappointed by. Hear me out here. I'm not going to get too deep into this because that's not what this video is about, but I do believe that Veilguard is an example of a publisher demanding that the developers create a product first and a fun game second. The priority at the top level, the primary goal communicated to the developers from the publishers, was make money, not deliver a fun experience. Whether or not there was a fun experience to be had with Veilguard is for you to decide, but it seems clear to me that that experience was secondary to sales. But even with that, I still consider this to be a mind-blowing work of art. And this game could not have existed without the artists. The people that worked their asses off day in and day out, some of them for 10 years, to create something. People that may have even recognized, okay, there's a shitload of corporate oversight here and it's stifling my ability to be creative in the way that I'd like to be in the world of Dragon Age, but I'm gonna do my goddamn best despite the overlords breathing down my throat. This isn't to say that I'm some kind of industry apologist. We should be able to stand up and criticize the games that we feel miss the mark. We should absolutely be critical of the things that we love. But we should also recognize the art in every single game that we decide to shit on. We should take a moment to breathe in the feeling of experiencing a beautiful and different world. We should applaud the people that spend massive chunks of their lives on these works of art that we then humiliate into oblivion with our commentary. And we should absolutely shit on the salespeople and the bureaucrats of the video game industry that have corrupted what is supposed to be art. The people that have decided to capitalize on, profit from, and abuse artists are not people that should be in charge of making video games, and we should be criticizing them. If your motivation, your priority, your primary goal is anything other than the joy and the feeling of creating something for someone else, go find another industry to poison. All of this begs the question, what the hell can we do about this? What power do we, the people that are playing these video games, have over the bureaucrats? I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea. I'm sure there's something to be said here about voting with your wallet or being critical or supporting the critics or what have you, but there are better, more talented people than I out there that are already preaching those things. At the end of the day, I don't really think I'm the best person to start making those kinds of suggestions or putting those kinds of solutions out there. But here are the commitments I've made, and hopefully, in some small way, what I'm doing makes a difference. Number 1, appreciate the art. Remember that even the cash cow, greed-fueled, corporate shithouse bullshit excuses of video games that we are force-fed were built by artists. and appreciate the art that they've created before completely shitting on it. And more importantly, number 2, celebrate the good. Look at what happened with Veilguard. The number 1 comparison that the game's harshest critics have made is to Baldur's Gate 3, a game that was very clearly developed by people that are passionate about creating. The more we continue to celebrate the good, the more the industry will recognize that good as the standard, the more the industry will listen to people like Swen Vincke, and the more the industry will produce art. I'd like to leave you with one last thought. There are a lot of people out there that are just as passionate, if not more passionate than I am about video games. And for as serious as we all may be about this industry and the art that we love, sometimes I think it's important to remember
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Thank you so much for checking out the video and the channel. This is definitely not the kind of content that we normally make here, so let me know if you liked it. And of course, let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think about all this? What are some of the games that you really felt and appreciated the art in? Please feel free to drop me a line in chat. I live for those conversations. One last time, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day. See ya. Hello and welcome to 10 Points of Slashing. My name... What am I doing? What the fuck? These are all people that aren't developed.